Hey, Foot Clan, do you want to be involved in the best fantasy football community on the internet? Head over to jointhefoot.com, interact with other fans of the show, and get exclusive content from the fantasy footballers.
Welcome to the Fantasy Footballers Podcast with your hosts, Andy Holloway, Jason Moore, and Mike Wright.
Welcome to the show. It's my favorite show of the week. Thursday, October 1st, 2015.
October 1st is your favorite show?
October 1st is always...
It's always every year.
There's some impulse in me that just says splurt the date out there. Just yell the date at the beginning of the show. It's my favorite show because we're previewing week 4, and we've got our starts of the week in today's show.
My favorite show of the week is every day.
Wow.
Because
every day with you guys is like a holiday.
Wow. Thanks, Mike. We appreciate it. That's Mike, the Fantasy Hitman Wright. I'm Andy Holloway, and I am joined by Jason Moore as well.
Howdy.
The Cowboy.
The Cowboy's here.
We've got a good show. Like I said, we have the fantasy forecast today. We're going to talk through the week 4 matchups. We're going to discuss our starts of the week. Got some news and notes. Going to break down all the injury report. I was just complaining about my team this morning because I went onto ESPN and like my entire starting lineup has a Q next to it, which is delightful as a fantasy owner. I just want all healthy guys. Like that's how I'm gonna draft next year. I'm gonna look at guys who have played the most consecutive games and then do a draft board just based on that. Because I mean, it sucks to have injured guys.
So you'll have like all quarterbacks.
I may or may not have started Chris Ivory last week.
Hey, a lot of people did. If I had any shares of him, I would have played him.
I started him in one of our leagues as well.
Yeah, it stunk.
Who else started
now I'm
him?
happy he didn't play because he's going to be healthy, right?
The Jets technically said he was a starter.
Yeah, he ran out of the tunnel.
Yep. Although, on that note, since we're on Chris Ivory and saying, well, now he's all rested up, I believe it's their bye week next week, right? That scares me a little bit from a standpoint of, like, let's share the load and not wear him out too much.
Long trip on the
Who do you
airplane.
think wins that game in London?
The Jets.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, I'll go.
I think Miami. I'm sorry if you're a Miami owner or a Miami fan. If you're a Miami owner, I'm also sorry. But
if you're a Miami owner, you have a lot of cash.
Well, but I think they might have a midseason firing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's time to for the Philbin to go.
They should have a midseason firing.
Yeah. Well, if you want to connect with the show, go to the website, thefantasyfootballers.com. You'll find we just posted 2 new articles from one of our guest writers. We have the quarterback rankings rest of season by Daniel Sahar, and we have an article on Travis Benjamin that just went up there. You can submit a question to the show. Click the Submit a Question button. You can also call us at 302-464-TFFB. Leave us a question for the show. You can find us on Twitter at the FF Ballers. You can follow Mike at FF Hitman, follow Jason at JasonFFL, and you can follow myself at Andy Holloway. You can also visit us on jointhefoot.com, like you heard in the intro, our fantasy football community, and we're everywhere else as well. YouTube, Instagram, Facebook.
Yes, we are. We are.
Wazoo. We're on Wazoo.
We're not unlike the NSA. Everywhere.
Whether you want us to be or not.
Yes.
All right, quick question for the day. I want you guys to give me a player this week that you think is going to surprise. And I mean in a big way. Like, you would never actually pick him to be your start of the week or rank him super high in your rankings, but this guy might end up number 1.
Number 1?
Whoa.
Yeah. Well, I mean, not unlike a Travis Benjamin, right?
Right,
where Benjamin, you wouldn't have ranked him, but he obviously had a blow-up game. Give me a blow-up game.
I got one for you. Ty Montgomery. Ty Montgomery is a guy I would never pick as my start of the week. I might not start him. I probably would not start him. But if you want a guy who has a potential to have a gigantic blow-up week, Ty Montgomery, I believe, is the second most talented wide receiver on the team with the most talented quarterback. Devontae Adams is out, and so here's the chance. Ty Montgomery, show us what you got, rookie.
Not bad. I got another rookie.
Oh.
I'm going with Nelson Aguilar.
Ooh.
Oh, you like a thief in the night.
Were you going to do him too?
No.
Oh, okay.
I was not going to. I was
Listen,
referring to when I was trying to trade for him.
I did just trade for him. He he was on the field for every single snap. He just got Darrelle Revis.
Yes.
So I think Aguilar has a chance to kind of come out of the wood. He had such a good preseason, and they haven't found it yet. But I'm going to go with Aguilar because PPR league, you never know.
He is talented himself.
Since I'd probably be starting him as my wide receiver 1 based on my current roster's injury situation.
Yeah, he's had to face some really tough DBs to open an NFL career. The guy I'm going with, and I'm not saying a number 1, but I'm talking a top half tight end. Dos Equis, Max Williams. We know that Davy Crockett Gilmore is not playing this Thursday night, and last week the two of them, Crockett and Max Williams, of course Crockett went out with the injury, combined for 10 targets. 10 targets, and that's what you want from your tight end. You want opportunity. The Steelers, they're a bit skewed at the moment for tight end scoring because they got Gronkified week 1 where Gronk put up that huge game.
That really hurts.
Yeah, but this Mark Trestman system is very interesting as they are not targeting the running back as he has done every single year of his professional career, and is very frustrating for Justin Forsett owners. However, he's still targeting the tight end. So I like Max Williams if you're pulling out of a hat or the waiver wire for your tight end.
Not bad, not bad. Do you know who my number 1 wide receiver in PPR is?
Should be Randall Cobb.
Hint.
Oh,
Steve Smith.
Steve
Smith.
Senor.
I think they want every target on that team to go to Steve Smith.
I don't think they have a lot of options.
I know.
Tucombe Perriman is still out. So,
ouch! Yeah, he was ruled out. So let's get into the news, talk some injuries, see what's going on in the fantasy world.
News and notes from around the league.
Oh, it's been a long time since we talked Brashad Perryman's hair.
mercy.
Or lack thereof. Oh. All right. Arian Foster. What is the give me the temperature?
He's practicing.
Limited practice.
And that to me is the big difference because what O'Brien has been saying, and granted sometimes coaches have been known to lie.
What?
Yeah, but he has been saying that Arian's going to go in when he practices in full.
No, he didn't say that.
Yeah, he said that before.
No, John McClain said that.
Well,
Houston Chronicle,
wait,
John McClain said...
John McClain from Die Hard?
From Die Hard?
Yeah, he said he thought that...
He
said... No, it is. It's John McClain, right?
I have no
idea.
idea.
It's John McClain.
John McClain is in Die Hard, yes.
Yeah, he's also the main beat reporter in Houston. And he said that he thought Arian wouldn't start until he practiced in full all week. O'Brien hasn't said that.
All right, so
I call you on that.
All right. Oh, fair enough. You believe Arian is going to start this week?
Yes, I believe that it's starting to trend upward for him. There have been other reporters in Houston that believe he's going to play. McClain's had the most negative view of it with that assertion.
Who would you say is the most respected beat writer?
Yeah, it's McClain.
Okay,
but I'm just telling you, it's an opinion.
Yeah, no, 50-50.
I think he starts.
Do you start Alfred Blue if he's ruled out?
If Foster's ruled out, I think Blue's okay to start. Yeah, I don't think he's like. I don't think Alfred Blue is a home run because they could. Here's the problem with that, real quick, and I know we'll talk about it a little bit later. But Atlanta could boat race the team, and then you have a lot of Polk on the field. So I'm just not confident. I mean, Blues had one good game out of 3. So, all right, Andrew Luck has a 7.4 quarterback rating when targeting superstar Andre Johnson.
Whoops,
that's a piece of news.
That is probably why Andre Johnson was not on the field as much in the fourth quarter, and they were pulling him. So,
well, listen, Andre Johnson said it's going to take some time.
He doesn't have much time left.
He needs the DeLorean. All right, Crockett Gilmore won't play on Thursday. We just spoke about that. So Max Williams will have an expanded role, but there'll be others involved.
And it's a calf injury, and calf is the new black, as we know, because the calf injuries they are lingerers. They keep people out.
Speaking of calf injuries, I didn't see it on this list, but it should be mentioned. Victor Cruz re-aggravated the calf. He is now indefinitely out for New York, which bumps up Ruben.
It is clearly on the list. It's just at the very bottom.
Oh, you're right. My bad. All right. Bruce Arians says he expects Chris Johnson to still get 15 to 20 touches per game, even with Ellington set to return in Week 4. This is not a good sign.
Well, it's also nonsense because Bruce Arians every week says he's going to get his running back, whoever it is. I mean, this same report came out about David Johnson last week, right? That he was going to get 10 to 15 touches. Yes is the answer to that. That he expected.
I don't know if I trust you anymore.
Well, fair enough. Nobody needs to, but it happened. My point is, at the very best, we cannot disagree that he is very hyperbolic when it comes to the amount of touches he's going to get as running back. So I will say this, if Ellington doesn't play, and I think there's a good chance he doesn't, then I believe this report, and I think Chris Johnson will be the man in Arizona.
And a great start.
You think so?
Yes.
I think it's a bad matchup.
The St. Louis Rams are giving up yardage on the ground.
I just want you to know that David Johnson had 10 touches, so he was true to his word.
Did David Johnson really have 10 touches?
7 carries, 3 catches. I just had to point that out
He
for no good reason.
He didn't even get in the game until like the middle of the fourth quarter,
it seemed
like.
I think Ellington will be limited if he's back. He's not a great start to me. Deshaun Jackson is still not practicing, so that's just an update for you. Shady McCoy and Sammy Watkins are not practicing today, Thursday, and they are both very likely to miss Sunday's game.
Yes.
I would say McCoy's for me, he's about 95%. And then Watkins is about 90%. So I think they're both probably going to be out, which we'll speak about in our starts of the week. DeMarco Murray, limited practice. If you had to start a guy right now, would it be Matthews or Murray?
Today, it's Matthews. However, DeMarco Murray could be getting a bailout from Mother Nature. I don't know if you guys are following the news of the hurricane going up and maybe having to postpone the game.
Postponed to when? Monday?
Yeah. There's a couple
That's like
options.
one of the scariest fantasy football situations ever when you hear about postponement.
They're talking about a couple options of Washington and Philadelphia actually have the same bye week. So there's talk of, okay, well, maybe this is their bye week and they actually play in week 8. Or they simply move the game to a neutral location, or they move the game to Monday or maybe even Tuesday. I mean, we don't know what's happening with that.
If they move the game, you don't get points for those guys this week.
That's
a
correct.
bye week for them. So you got to have
make
correct.
your plans accordingly.
Yeah. If you're in the path of the hurricane and have either of the players on those teams, you better be ready to adjust, because
you better be ready.
If they move it to the bye week, there's no way it would if they move it to Monday or Tuesday, it'll count for this past week.
Yes.
Wow. Okay, so Marshawn Lynch is 50-50 to play. So I want to talk about this briefly. 1, in the context of Lynch, and then 2, in terms of the backup, because I understand a lot of people spent fab dollars on Thomas Rawls this week, but do we really know that Rawls would be the guy?
I think we saw that when Lynch went out. I believe Rawls is the guy. You might mix in a little bit of Fred Jackson, but they didn't bring Fred Jackson in to be the backup. They brought him in to play the role he's been playing, and Rawls is the clear backup, which is, I believe, why they let Christine Michael go, Turbin go. So I would be confident with that. The issue here is it's Monday Night Football. So if you don't have both Marshawn Lynch and Rawls on your team, if you've got both of those guys, then you're fine to wait it out and see. But if you picked up Rawls and you're hoping he starts, you're going to be out of luck if all of a sudden Marshawn plays on Monday. So if you don't have both, look for a different option and play somebody else.
I agree completely.
Okay. Devontae Adams is not practicing today. Or I'm sorry, I guess that was on Wednesday.
Yes.
I don't think he's going to practice today either. I read a tweet that he's in a futuristic-looking walking boot, but he does keep denying the fact that he has a high ankle sprain, so we'll see what happens with Devontae Adams. I would say he's probably not playing this week. Tevin Coleman is not practicing, which means Devonta Freeman. I got to get my Devontaes and my Devontas.
Is it really Devonta?
Yes, Devonta.
Oh.
Yeah.
The more you know.
No, Jason and I spent a long time looking at Devonta Parker, Devontae Adams, and Devonta Freeman all spell their name differently.
I know that it's
the
spelling's
first name.
different. I just wasn't sure that it was pronounced different.
So do we like Freeman this week?
Yep.
A lot.
Okay. Alshon and Cutler did not practice?
No, they did practice.
Oh, yep. Yeah, they did. Alshon was limited, and Cutler practiced, and there's some people that are really doubting he could be ready for this week. Do you think he's going to play, though?
I think Cutler had a
case of the Seahawks.
He had a case of the Seahawks.
Yeah, I would have, too. Man, that game for a second there, as a Cardinal fan, I was just hoping.
Well, not a second. It was halftime. It was 6-0.
6-0. All right, Eric Decker missed practice. Drew Brees practiced in a limited fashion, hopes to play. I would expect Brees on the field.
Me too.
Yeah, I think so.
Andrew Corliss,
MCL IR designated to return. So
Richard Rodgers alert.
No,
No,
Richard,
not an alert.
Alert that he's the only tight end, but he is still only going to get a couple targets.
What do you think about Reggie Bush coming back to full practice? He'll be taking over third down role. This has to impact Carlos Hyde.
For the 3 snaps, yeah, before Reggie Bush dies again.
Okay, presuming health of Reggie Bush.
Presuming health.
Is this the time? Would you go sell Carlos Hyde is my question, because Hyde has had 2 mediocre weeks in a row. They're getting boat raced in a lot of games, which means they'll be behind, which is why we liked Reggie Bush in the beginning of the season.
I've been picking up Bush in a couple of different leagues and stashing him for this exact reason.
I think it's smart.
I wouldn't necessarily sell on Carlos Hyde. In fact, I wouldn't sell on Carlos Hyde.
No,
I still believe he's going to
him.
be very good. If I would go buy still on Carlos Hyde.
All right, before we get into the fantasy forecast, I want to thank Stamps.com for supporting the show as a sponsor. You guys are a lot like us, running a business. You don't have time to go to the post office. Time is valuable. And so with Stamps.com, you don't have to go to the post office anymore. With Stamps.com, you can buy and print official U.S. postage right from your own computer and printer. Stamps.com will send you a digital scale, and that digital scale will automatically calculate your exact postage amount. You don't have to go buy a stamp that's a little bit more than what you need to send. It saves you money. Any letter of package, any class of mail, you don't waste valuable time going to the post office. So listen, right now you can sign up for Stamps.com and use our promo code FOOTBALLERS for this special offer. A 4-week free trial plus a $110 bonus offer, including postage and a digital scale. Don't wait. Go to Stamps.com, and before you do anything else, click on the microphone at the top of the homepage and type in Footballers. That's Stamps.com and enter Footballers.
And we'd also like to thank our awesome sponsor, SeatGeek. SeatGeek is the app to get your tickets. The NFL season is in mid-swing right now, and we've got some great games. You got the Giants-Bills, the Texans-Falcons. If you want to go to London, you got the Jets-Dolphins. But get your tickets on SeatGeek. SeatGeek is a great app. The app is free. Download it, and you can get one-click access to all the ticket needs. All of the tickets show up there with a deal score that will show you the best price on all of your tickets. And they take tickets from every place, over 100 different sites that sell tickets. They all pool into SeatGeek, so you know you're getting the best price. And for our listeners, SeatGeek will always give you $20 back after your first purchase. So to redeem our promo code and save the $20, here's what you do. You download the free SeatGeek app today, enter promo code FOOTBALLERS in the app, and then SeatGeek will send you $20 once you've made your first purchase with SeatGeek. Every ticket purchased on SeatGeek backed by a 100% guarantee.
Awesome. I love SeatGeek.
Yeah.
Now, before we get into the fantasy forecast,
What was that? That was I'm kind of scared.
no, we're back on Kristen Michael watch, everybody.
Oh, right after you say go drop him.
I said you can maybe drop him.
Why? Why are we on Kristen Michael?
Kristen
watch?
Michael officially got first team reps. This is the first time he's actually gotten
my
reps with the
goodness.
first team. He's been on the training squad. I've followed the beat writers very closely, and they said he's been great.
Are we selling Joseph Randle after a 3-touchdown game?
Just hold on.
I'm just asking.
Just hold on. We, as fantasy players, what we look at, 3-touchdown game, huge production from Joseph Randle. What the Dallas Cowboys look at is second half, they couldn't run the ball, and they lost.
Yeah.
That's what they care
Yeah.
about. They don't care about our fantasy team. So Kristen Michael officially got reps, and there are beat writers on Twitter saying it looks like we could be very close to Kristen Michael time. In fact, this Sunday close. So he's still on my bench by a stroke of destiny. My fab, I got outbid. So Michael did not get dropped.
Oh my classic.
So we're in one more week.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
Well,
Hopefully one more week, and then we can be done with this.
That's a good update. So let's get into the forecast.
Fantasy Forecast.
All right, we got a lot of good games this week, including Thursday night's game coming up tonight. Are you excited about this?
Joe
or is the
Flacco
shine off of it because of the
versus
big
Michael Vick.
Flacco-Vick face-off?
I'm actually really excited about it because I think it's really important that we know what we get from the Steelers with Michael Vick. Michael Vick still has a big arm, so he's gonna be able to throw the long ball. Le'Veon Bell is going to be just the same. I believe he'll get all the dump offs and he's going to run no different. But it's going to be telling to see how they use him, because they said that they're going to game plan differently. The Steelers are going to run a little bit different offense and tailor it to Michael Vick, and we don't know exactly what that is when at this age.
So Jason and I have Joe Flacco very high on our weekly rankings. In fact, Jason has him at number 5 this week. I have him at number 7. Mike, you have him at just outside the QB1 range. So we all kind of like him to have a good week against the Pittsburgh defense.
Yeah, I like him. And I think what's interesting for me this week is this is Michael Vick on a very short week of practice. So this is not the exact Michael Vick experiment we're going to get right now. It's a great opportunity because the Ravens' passing D has just been giving it up to everybody. But this is what I'll say. If Antonio Brown has a bad game, the streak is on the line tonight, the 5 for 50. This could be the end
because of the situation.
Yeah, this could be the end of the streak. If Antonio Brown has a lower game, I am buying immediately. If there's a panicky owner, which they probably won't, but somewhere there's going to be an owner who panics because some people already were.
This would be validation for that mindset.
This is Michael Vick on very short practice. Next week he has even more days to practice and get it together. So that's something to watch.
Yeah, that's great. Justin Forsett, I was going to say, this is if C.J. Anderson was on the line last week, which I actually don't think he was. I'm okay on C.J. Anderson this week based on
injuries,
based on comments from the coaches. But Justin Forsett has a good matchup, and he's been getting opportunities.
Really? They're 9th against the run. The Steelers are.
Yeah, but Forsett, I mean, from my perspective, I think he's going to have the carry load, and he's going to have it out of the backfield. He's had 4 a week. He's got to do more than 16 yards out of the backfield.
What was the stat you were talking about last year? Justin Forsett, every carry before he would get contacted.
Oh, it was crazy. Yeah.
Was over 3 yards.
He was the number 1 in the league for yards before contact. It was over 3 yards, and this year it's only like 1. So it's telling you that the offensive line is struggling.
The offensive line is struggling, or the play calling is just not fitting with
totally
their
different
personnel.
offense now. Yeah, Trustman versus Kubiak.
And Eugene Monroe the left tackle, is also out tonight.
Yep. So I do think it will be telling though, because if Forsett has another down game, there's a point that we're going to come to where we have to say this is what he is this year under this offense.
Yeah.
And so be watching for that. Le'Veon Bell's an auto start, obviously. Do you think he has a good game tonight?
I think he has a great game.
Yeah, I like him. I think the even though it's Michael Vick is different, the offensive line is not different. And Todd Haley, for all of his failures in Kansas City as a head coach, has proven to be a spectacular offensive coordinator.
We have him. Jason has Lev Bell number 1. I have number 2. Mike has him number 2 this week. All right, let's talk about the wide receivers. Steve Smith's the only starter, I assume, from Baltimore.
On the field, yes. Yes, that is correct.
Unless you want to go crazy with Max Williams.
Right. And then
what about Kamar Aiken? Should we mention him? Deep league, any value there? I mean, if Joe Flacco's
because of the passing defense?
Because Pittsburgh has been letting up a bunch of, you've got an 0-3 Baltimore team that desperately needs a win. If Pittsburgh's putting up points somehow, they're going to be fighting back and flying. So it's just I
think it's just going to get spread around. But
better
that's a good point. What about Heath Miller with Michael Vick coming into the role? I mean,
it's interesting.
Yeah.
Michael Vick likes the tight end.
I hate Heath Miller this week.
Really?
What?
Really?
Yes, I do. I don't like Heath Miller because, once again, just like I said last week with Tyler Eifert, Baltimore's defense is they lock down that tight end and they give it up to the wide receivers. I see no reason. Now with Michael Vick coming in, it does make sense. So I wouldn't be surprised if
I was almost going to water bet you.
If Heath Miller were to get, 4 or 5 catches, I'm not going to be shocked, but I do think they're going to be for about 5 yards each. I don't see him having a good fantasy week at all. In fact, I think he's ranked for me very low compared to the consensus. So I'm not a big fan of Heath Miller this week.
Okay, let's go ahead and talk about the London game. The Jets technically at the Dolphins, but you're not at the Dolphins, right?
That sucks.
Yeah,
so
you
much.
lose a home game to go to London.
Yeah,
A team that could really use a home game right now.
Well, I don't know. They didn't play very well at home.
That's fair. This game, the Dolphins are dogs in this one. 1.5-point underdogs.
Home dogs.
Let's talk about Fitzpatrick and Tannehill. Who do you like more in this game? And then who would you start? Would you start either of them? Because I probably would not right now.
I would not start either one of them. The Jets' passing defense is fantastic. You're not going to want to go up against that with Ryan Tannehill. And you never know. You really don't know in these London games which team is truly prepared for it. And sometimes you get what happens on that Thursday night game where there's kind of a blowout. And you just can't predict which direction it goes. So I tend to steer clear, especially in a game like this where the Jets' defense is pretty good against the run, fantastic against the pass. Miami's offense has been terrible. And, there's just not much to love here from a fantasy perspective.
There have been a lot of people who, Tannehill's the guy that was drafted to be a starter for a lot of people. So they want to know, do they play Tannehill or do they play Colin Kaepernick?
No, not Colin Kaepernick.
Do they play Derek Carr?
Yes.
Yeah.
Over Tannehill?
Yes.
Do they play Blake Bortles over Tannehill?
I don't mind it.
Yeah. No,
I
mean,
don't mind it at all. I can dig
the Indy DBs outside of Vonta Davis are just destroyed. So, yeah, play
All right,
Bortles.
Guys, put the Miami Dolphins wide receivers in order of fantasy production this week. We're talking Landry, Parker, Matthews.
I think it's about the same for me still. It's going to be Landry, Matthews, Parker. Parker's role is growing. I think Matthews will diminish over time, but for now, he's still the number 2.
Any reason to believe that Marshall doesn't continue his target assault and good production?
Nope. He's one of the guys that he's probably the guy I would be the most confident starting. I would rather start Marshall over Landry this week.
Okay, Jason, you're the lowest on Jordan Cameron. Is there any reason why you're down on him this week compared to?
There's two. I know it's really early in the season, but there's two defenses that I see in the league right now that I don't want to go up against with the tight end. It's Baltimore. It's the Jets. So that's the reason. I don't like the matchup at all.
Okay, that's very fair. You had a reason,
Yeah.
and it was a good one. All right, the Giants are facing the Bills. The Bills are 5.5-point favorites.
Oof.
In a surprisingly high-scoring Vegas odds number. As far as this week actually has a lot lower scoring matchups than the normal week. So it's not that they're seeing a super high offensive output in Vegas, but higher than most of the other games in the league, which matters. So,
I have Carlos Williams as my number 3 running back this week.
I do not blame you at all.
Okay. I wasn't sure if you you were going with that. It was going to be like, you are a crazy person.
No, Carlos Williams looks the part.
And actually, Jason has him number 4. I hadn't seen your rankings because yours came online like
late last night,
a little bit after ours. But you and I have a very similar thoughts on him. I also don't blame you, Mike, for having him a little bit lower because we haven't seen him start. But the matchup's good. The threat of Taylor running and the fact that Williams has been so productive, I think you just roll Carlos out there, right?
The reason that LaShawn McCoy was drafted so high was because this is a running team that's got no fear of giving their star running back 20, 25, 30 carries if the game will allow it. And if Shady is gone, they're going to give it to someone that has looked more talented on the field than Shady anyways.
Now I had a question yesterday come through our inbox, and it was basically a dynasty. It was a dynasty league, but he was asking, is there any way Carlos Williams takes the job this year? And I want people to know that that's impossible.
No,
it's outside of injury. It's absolutely impossible. They traded the farm and they gave a new contract to LaShawn McCoy. And honestly, McCoy, it's not like McCoy hasn't looked good when he's been healthy. It's just it's been very limited amounts of health.
And also, Rex Ryan is a loyalist to a fault sometimes. If he's made this promise to Shady to get him the ball, then that's his guy, and
they're winning too. They're winning games. So,
Eli Manning or Tyrod Taylor
today in this game, I would go. You got to go Taylor.
Yes, absolutely.
It's just and honestly, it's less about. It's just the matchup. The defense for the Bills is so much better than the defense for the Giants.
Are you playing any Giants running backs?
The only running back that's
with
playable
confidence,
would be
no.
Vereen. You might be able to flex Vereen, but I would prefer to not have a Giants running back on my roster.
Where do we have? I'm scrolling. Yeah, I'm the highest on Rashad Jennings, and I have him at 32.
And speaking to the tight ends real quick, which we did some research on the on Larry and his last name, and now I can't remember it.
It's
Donnell.
Donnell.
Yeah. We had a hybrid of our two mispronunciations to be Donnell.
Yeah, I think most people say Donnell, but
Yes.
it's Donnell, and we found him saying his own name.
So we got that cleared up.
Yeah, now
Foot
we're only
Clan.
mispronouncing about 8 to 10 other names on a regular
The
basis.
Jaguars.
And Charles Clay this week.
Aguilar.
The Aggie. Just
Aggie.
call him Aggie. Charles Clay, I love him this week. The Giants are if people we know the Raiders are giving it up to tight ends. So are the Giants.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
I love Charles Clay.
Charles Clay, we'll talk about him shortly, but he is very, very high on my tight end list. You'll see that on our rankings page on the website. So let's talk about the Panthers going to the Bucks. Very low over-under on this game, a 40-point. As you might expect, the kind of game plan for the Panthers has been, ground and pound, ball control, beat them up with your defense. Now, their defense has been good. I really liked them in this game. However, did you guys see Luke Kuechly, the news this morning?
I did not.
I did not.
He's not practicing. He is going to see another neurologist.
That sucks.
And
bad
he
news.
just had a review yesterday or today that obviously didn't go well. So that's really unfortunate for them. They're 4th against the run, 15th against the pass. Very good defense, but a bummer to lose your kind of stalwart in the back. So, and they traded for Jared Allen this week too.
Yeah. And so is there
So let's talk about Cam Newton.
Okay,
Let's talk about him for a second because people rest of season, where do you put Cam Newton?
Pretty high. I think he's running the ball the way that I had hoped when we had that kind of
Yes.
fantasy face-off. He's getting back to running the ball. He's getting back to scoring touchdowns, and I think he's going to continue that the rest of the year, especially with the loss of Kelvin Benjamin. So I like him. I would definitely put him in standard, 4-point throwing quarterback leagues. I think he'd be my number 3.
Cam Newton or Tyrod Taylor this week?
Ooh,
I can tell you what your rankings say.
I'm going to go Tyrod
I'm
Taylor
gonna go
this
with
week,
Taylor.
but I like both of them a lot.
Okay. Well, then I won't tell you what your rankings
What
say.
am I
Do I
rankings
have
say?
Cam high right
Actually, Jason, you have Tyrod at 3 and Cam at 6. So
There you go.
you're on point. Mike, you have Cam at 3.
now? Do I?
Yeah, and I
Yeah.
have Cam at 2. So I'm
I
on
like
the
him.
Cam side this week.
I like Cam a lot this week, and if we're talking rest of season, he's still in that 5 to 9 range for me, because he's going to have games, at least historically, he's had weeks where he has this run. He's had 2 30-plus point games in a row. He'll probably have another great one this week, and then he'll just have these clunkers that kill you.
It is true.
Greg Olson's an auto start, obviously. He had a
Yes.
huge week last week. I had been trying to trade for him, trying to send Eifert for him in different leagues.
And this is why we talk about targets.
Yep.
That if the targets are there, the production will be there.
Yeah. No, that's a great point. You have to pay attention to that because it will return to the mean, so to speak, if you
Yes.
have enough targets. I would not be surprised if Carolina keeps winning games that they bring in another wide receiver option. So just pay attention. Free agent wide receivers out there, just be looking for that. I think Devin Funchess' role will increase. But this it gives Cam Newton a lot of fantasy credit because he has no real weapons outside of Olsen, and he's still producing at a great clip. So,
And
you know,
Jonathan Stewart did not practice the past couple days. He's got a bruise on his shin, and so this is just something to watch. We think that he's going to play, and the matchup is delicious.
yeah,
to
I'm
say the
definitely
least.
starting Stewart if he's in the lineup. This is the 3rd straight week he didn't practice or
If-
was limited in practice 2
If
days.
he's out, do you start?
No.
No, you don't start anyone. And if you had to, who would it be?
Whitaker.
Yeah,
would-
it would be. I think it would be Fozzie for me
Yeah.
now.
Yeah, I think Artis Payne was actually active for the first time last week, and I think he had 1 carry or something like that. So he doesn't seem like he's going to be handed the Thomas Rawls opportunity right away. All right, let's talk about the Raiders at the Bears. The Raiders are 2-1, and they are facing the Bears in Chicago, and the Bears are a 3-point underdog. So,
The Bears, I believe, are 0-4
What? What?
in
They're-
3 weeks.
Oh,
yeah, they've tacked an extra loss on
Yeah.
there.
what a world we live in.
I love it. I love seeing Derek.
I-
I love Derek Carr. I like seeing him succeed. I like Amari Cooper. I like the coach, their head coach.
Their head coach. His name is escaping you right now.
Yes, it is. Former
Rio?
Jacksonville.
Del
Yeah,
Rio?
Jack Del Rio. I just would like to see them succeed a little bit.
I agree with you. I like when the teams that are in the bottom finally rise to the top. And the Raiders' offense, man, has looked very capable the past few weeks. Derek Carr,
Over 300?
Over 300 yards the past 2 weeks. But let us not forget, week 1, he had 60 yards, right? That wasn't last year.
He got hurt.
Yeah, but
Remember?
Just saying.
No. You don't get to just say when a guy went out for 3/4 of the game.
Okay.
What do you think?
He got hurt, and he also got hurt. I don't remember if it was last week or the week before, but he's one who is showing a propensity to get hurt.
However, he changed up. You know, after getting hurt in week 1, he changed up and was a little bit smarter the last 2 games when it came to just protecting his body, running out of bounds, doing things like that. So I think that's something you have to do at that position. Can you believe? Do you know, Mike, what our consensus ranking is on Amari Cooper? Or do you, Andy?
Amari's got to be top 5.
Yeah, I have him very high. I have him at
He is our
top 5.
consensus number 3
this week. Yeah.
Yeah, Cooper has come on strong very quickly. Very quickly.
Great
So
matchup against the Bears.
What do we think about Alshon Jeffrey this week if he plays?
If
And
Alshon Jeffrey plays,
Does it matter to you at all who's the quarterback
It
in terms
does.
of where you rank him?
100%. Yes, Jimmy Clausen.
He will get all the targets no matter which quarterback it is. I know they might be less accurate.
Yeah,
from
you
Jimmy
have to be
Clausen.
able to catch the targets for them to actually matter. Here's my thought. One, I think that both Cutler and Alshon get on the field this week. If that's the case, then Alshon has a decent matchup. I don't think it's scary, and I would put him as
Alshon
like
Jeffrey or James Jones.
Alshon,
James Jones.
Alshon or Dante Moncrief.
Dante Moncrief.
Oh, man. That's tough.
Alshon
Alshon.
Jeffrey or Emmanuel Sanders.
Emmanuel Sanders.
Alshon.
Alshon Jeffrey or Jordan Matthews.
That one's tough.
Okay.
Who
Yeah, I
are
think
the-
Alshon is going to soak up targets.
I agree
for
with
the
that.
rest of the
As
year.
long as Cutler is there as the quarterback, Alshon Jeffrey should be a top 10 guy.
So we like Derek Carr as a spot start this week. We like Amari Cooper. What do we think of? Is there anybody else? You know, would you start Crabtree? Would you start Bennett?
Yeah.
Only
I think
in
you're
a-
starting Bennett.
Yes, you're starting.
You have to start
Yeah,
Bennett.
you have to
Yeah.
start Bennett. You have to start the tight end against the Raiders. This is a new rule instituted this
Yeah.
year. If you have a tight end against the Raiders, Gary Barnidge has solidified this rule for me, at least until further notice. If you have a tight end against the Raiders, you get 30 points.
All right, we got to get through a couple more games, and then we'll get to our starts of the week, so stay tuned for that. The Chiefs are going into Cincinnati and facing the Bengals. The Chiefs just lost to Green Bay on Monday night, short week, going into Cincinnati, a Cincinnati team that is playing very, very well.
They look awesome.
The weapons are there for Dalton, and honestly, if you just look at the tape, this is going to sound crazy. Andy Dalton's playing better than Andrew Luck this year.
Yeah, that's not great.
It sounds crazy.
Not just
Oh, yes.
fantasy, not just
Yes.
fantasy. I mean, just like as a quarterback, he's playing better.
Well, think about this, and we talked about this, I think, way in the offseason. But last year, Andy Dalton had an injured A.J. Green, had no Marvin Jones, had no Tyler Eifert. He had all of his weapons depleted, and he didn't have
Gio was hurt too, wasn't
Yes.
he?
Right, Gio missed some games, another great pass-catching target. Now he gets all of those guys back, and I think there's been an unfair rap on Andy Dalton. So we'll talk about
And
that.
Geno Atkins on the defensive side is back, which makes a huge difference to the game flow. And the fact that they're not coming back from 1,000 points down. I mean, Andy Dalton having to go out and sling it 35 times is not going to end well, generally.
So that begs the question then. Would you start Andy Dalton over Andrew Luck?
This week, no, I don't have the guts.
Yeah.
This week,
Andrew Luck has a great
has
matchup.
such a great
Just-
matchup.
That just has to do with your kind of the way you play fantasy. I mean, if you're the kind of guy who's like, you need to punish Andrew Luck for his performances for you, and you're happy putting him on your
Take that on
bench,
my
you
bench.
can do that. I'm not that kind of guy though. So let's talk about AJ Green exploded. Your chance to buy low on him is
Gone.
We're starting Green. What about Marvin Jones as a flex start?
I like it. I can dig it. The Chiefs' defense, the secondary at least, has been highly suspect, and I think that Marvin can bust loose. I'm talking not a great game, but 50, 60 yards.
Is Charles the only guy you want to start on Kansas City heading into Cincinnati against that defense?
No, Zeus.
Oh,
Zeus
that's
is
right. Yep.
Zeus is an every week start for me.
And what do we think about Tyler Eifert? Chance to bounce back?
Absolutely. He dropped a touchdown because of semantics of the new catch rule. If that rule is slightly different, or if it's the same rule as it was, 5 years ago, then Eifert would have had a great game.
Yeah, I like almost all the Bengals. What about Jeremy Hill?
Oh man,
Jeremy Hill going up against
Hill or Bernard? Who would you start between them? That's the first question.
I'm still going to start Jeremy Hill because I'm a glutton for punishment. He's still technically the starter on the team.
I want to see where we have him. You can keep talking about that. I want to see our comparison where we have the two guys.
And the Chiefs, they have a strong.
Yeah, we have Gio ahead.
They have a strong running game, but we saw an injured Eddie Lacy handle them pretty well. I'm sure a lot of it has to do with Aaron Rodgers, but I'm still. If you have Hill, I don't know if you have a better option. Or if you grab Dion Lewis, who's on a bye week, so he's not helping you this week. But I can't think of a lower tiered option that you grabbed with Hill who can be.
Would you play Devontae Freeman over Jeremy Hill?
Yes.
Hey,
that's a good one.
Yeah.
Can I have you guys rank these three guys that I know I see a lot of questions on for this week? These three guys: Jeremy Hill, Justin Forsett, and Lamar Miller. So you got Lamar Miller against the Jets in London. Justin Forsett, we just talked about
against Pittsburgh.
Give me Forsett, then Hill, then Miller.
I would go Hill, Forsett, Miller.
And I go same as Andy, Forsett,
Okay.
Hill, Miller.
All right, let's talk about the Texans heading into Atlanta. Atlanta is almost a 7-point favorite. This is a high 47-point over-under. You've got the potential for Arian Foster to return in this game, and this is my...
Oh, no.
Andy's almost upset of the week.
I love hearing your almost upset of the week because every time it just punches me right in the junk.
Listen, the Falcons' defense is not that good. They are a bottom half defense. They gave up a ton of yards on the ground to Joseph Randle.
A ton of first half yards.
I understand. But they gave up 4 touchdowns to running backs last
Yes.
week. And they're not great through the air. If the Texans get Arian Foster back and their defense plays more up to par to what we expect it to be, which honestly in fantasy it's been underwhelming. I saw a lot of leagues where Houston was dropped this week, and I don't blame you because they haven't scored and they're not getting turnovers. But I'm telling you right now, this is my upset pick of the week because Houston has the type of defense and they've been kind of in every game that they've been in. And so I think they can stop the run in Devontae Freeman, and that will force Atlanta to find another pass catcher than just Julio Jones. Maybe they can win the entire game just on the back of Julio Jones, who, by the way, in an article today said he can do a lot better than he's doing.
Good.
By the way, he's on pace for 2,300 yards and 21 touchdowns.
Julio!
Oh, and 181 receptions is his current pace. Which would break. Do you know what the record is? Do you guys know that?
It's got a 150.
143. Do you know who did it?
Jerry Rice?
Yeah, I would go with Rice.
No, Marvin Harrison.
Ah, yes.
Yeah, 143. So he's on pace to smash that record, which, I'm sure he'll get hurt before then. So
Yeah.
All right. That being said, all of that almost upset of the week mess. Are we starting Foster if he's active? Is the first question.
100% we are starting Foster if he is active.
I don't think they're going to just throw him out there for 10 or 15 carries.
I agree with that. I think he's either all in or all out.
I agree. That's what they've done with him in the past, almost every time. And there's been plenty of times where he's come back off of an injury, and he rocks it. Game 1.
My number one wide receiver on the week is in this game, and his name is not Julio Jones.
DeAndre Hopkins?
He's my number one this week.
I thought your number one.
I thought
was
you
Steve
just said
Smith.
Steve
No,
Smith.
Steve Smith's my number one in PPR, number 2 in standard.
Okay.
Hopkins is my number 1 in standard.
Gotcha.
So
All right.
Julio's 3 in both of those, by the way. But DeAndre Hopkins,
I love Hopkins this
target
week.
monster, good defense to play against. Falcons are 24th against the pass. If you have Hopkins, you're starting him and you're dancing. That's
Dancing
my
in the
thought.
street.
Yeah.
So, Hankerson?
Hankerson over Roddy.
Hankerson over Roddy?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah,
All right.
you have to at this point.
Would you flex Hankerson? Is that a consideration for you?
He's among that crop of guys we always talk about. That's just that weird, nebulous.
Let me ask you this:
kind of gross guys, but sure.
3 strikes when you bowl is called a
Turkey.
turkey. What is it when
You get
if
3
Roddy
goose
White
eggs.
gets 3 gooses in a row.
Retirement. I believe that's what that's called.
Oh, I think him and Andre Johnson might have to go out,
Oh man.
hang out.
I don't flex.
Go bowling.
I don't flex the wide receiver 2 for Atlanta right now until
No.
they figure that out. We knew, Kyle Shanahan targets one guy. He's always great for that wide receiver 1, but his wide receiver 2s haven't ever been.
By the time you're ready to play Hankerson, Devin Hester will be back. So get ready for
I
that.
think Devin Hester was cleared.
Was he?
Yeah, that was.
Yeah.
I
So
believe I read that.
definitely agree with Jason then on that.
I don't know. I like if as long as Roddy's going to keep doing this, I like Leonard Hankerson moving forward.
Mike, if Foster is declared out before the game, who do you start Alfred Blue over? And Alfred Blue's the guy, right?
Yeah, Alfred. I think Alfred Blue is the guy with the volume at least that he got last week. I think he had 31 carries or something just crazy.
If you're wondering about where I have these guys on my rankings, I put Blue and Foster directly next to each other because I don't know the situation yet. So they're both ranked kind of low. If we get more information, I'll update my Foster ranking, and I'm sure we will all do that.
Yeah.
He's all over the place because for me, I ranked Blue as in he's playing, and I have Foster pretty much out. I put zeros.
Yeah,
in
actually, Foster, you don't have.
I believe
Mike
I gave,
Mike
I
doesn't
don't
have
have
him ranked.
Foster
Yeah.
right now.
I gave him one carry for 1 yard, just so that he's there, but not really. And to answer Mike's question, I've got Alfred Blue. If he is the guy, I've got him over Bernard, Lamar Miller, C.J. Spiller, and Dunbar.
All right, let's get into our starts of the week.
Starts of the week.
All right, my start of the week at the quarterback position pains me to say because I'm facing him.
Oh, it is a glory. I feel like you're just trying to jinx me.
It has crossed my mind. It's Phillip Rivers at home against Cleveland, bounce back game, coming off, I believe, 2 losses in a row?
Yes.
So I have him at 300-plus yards, 2 touchdowns, at least. So
I love hearing that.
Phillip is my start of the week at quarterback. Let's go ahead and go over to Jason Moore.
I'm going with the Red Rocket, Andy Dalton. We talked about these guys yesterday. Not only do I think he's a streamable guy because somehow only 39% ownership for the number 3.
After waiver. Wait,
Yeah.
is that like today?
I haven't checked it today, but that was yesterday after waivers.
You know what that is? That is ginger discrimination.
Yes, it is. It is ginger discrimination, but I've got him. We talked about him enough yesterday and today. I believe he puts up great numbers with all of his new weapons.
Hold on, I'm looking up this ownership because I got to see what this is at. Owned. Okay, he's owned in 67%.
All right. Okay, so people picked
After
him
waiver
up.
wire?
Yeah, that's at least.
Well, the bye weeks are here. People are grabbing a quarterback for those situations too.
Okay, for my start of the week, I need you to hit a button for me.
Send in the car. Send in the car.
Yeah, send in the car. This was Andy's stream of the week, and he will be my.
What's his name?
Derek Carr.
Okay, just making sure.
I thought you were going Breaking Bad on me,
I didn't know if you were going Brandon Carr, the DB.
or his brother jumping out of retirement real quick.
Yeah.
But Derek Carr, we talked about back-to-back 300-yard games, 2 touchdowns in each of those, and Amari Cooper has just he lived up to his hype. One of those guys who actually did, where they said he's the most league-ready wide receiver in a long time, and he's showing it. He's been fantastic. Watch him on tape. He looks great. Michael Crabtree is, I guess, healthy and seems to be a capable wide receiver, and just everything in Oakland is working right now, and they get a great matchup against the Bears.
I love that in your notes it says Chicago has gone full ostrich.
Yeah, they have. They're just burying their head in the sand. We need to sell players. I guess it might just.
We're
be,
not going to give you any injury updates.
Oh, I don't
that
want
way
to go
we
back
can
into
lose
that.
by less.
And they're selling the team. There's these rumors of. I'm sure this is just media speculation, not based on anything, but like actually verbally, people are talking about. Are they going to trade Matt Forte and Jay Cutler? And it's like, what is going on in Chicago?
I was going to say, I think with Carr and Cooper, you have a budding Cutler-Marshall situation there.
Yeah,
You got a gun.
you
got
do.
a gunslinger. You got a target monster that's always open. All right, so the running back. Let's go ahead and go with Mike. You can give us your running back start of the week.
So this is a hybrid.
Yeah.
Because it's Alfred Blue for me or Arian Foster if he plays. Atlanta is giving up massive points to the running backs. 7 touchdowns that leads the league. And Alfred Blue last week, 31 for 139 yards and a touchdown. And I think the Texans know the only way – everybody knows. I mean, it's just – so I guess it's just being stating the obvious. The only way you're going to beat Atlanta, do not let them have the ball. And if that would include giving Alfred Blue a healthy dose of carries. And I like him. I don't think the Atlanta running game is that strong. I know they shut down Dallas in the second half, but I like Blue in this game.
My start of the week is Carlos Williams. We talked about how he is our number 3 and 4 for Andy and I running back. Now that's of course if Shady's out. Sometimes people don't feel confident playing backups. Feel confident playing Carlos Williams. Carlos with a K.
If McCoy was somehow active, are you still starting Williams?
Flex.
Yeah,
maybe flex, but I probably would not start him if he's active. In fact, I've got another. If in case Shady plays, then my start of the week would be Devonta Freeman. Who Tevin Coleman's not back yet. He looks great.
That's your start of the week against the Houston front?
Houston hasn't been that good against the run, which is
No, you're right.
shocking
You're right.
because they should be with that line. But
Good point.
yeah,
All right. To save characters when I type it out, I've been calling Carlos Williams K Willie. K Willie, jump on the bandwagon.
I'm not sure he would love that.
K Willie.
Oh my goodness, it's been a while since you've debuted. It could have been worse. Matt Forte is my start of the week. He's my number 1 this week, which is why I'm putting him on that list. I also really like Melvin Gordon this week. He's my number 8 overall running back this week. I think at home, coming back against Cleveland, he's looked the part. They've just been down. I think they'll be up in this game. It'll be Gordon time. Get ready for some I'm buying Gordon in leagues.
I love the Gordon pick. I mean, I had him as my start of the week last week, and it didn't pan out. And I went back and I watched, and he's running great. And then that pick 6 in near, I believe, the end of the third quarter, they didn't even play him in the fourth because the game was out of reach.
This is kind of a random aside, so I apologize, because we were talking about Phillip Rivers. Look at Phillip Rivers' schedule coming up. Cleveland, Pittsburgh. Green Bay is iffy because he's in Green Bay, so that's one. But Oakland, Baltimore, Chicago, then a bye week. Phillip Rivers' schedule is lining up to be fantastic, and Mr. Gates comes back next week. I just needed to mention
It's very important to mention, and if you can grab him and you're tight end needy, go do it. All right, so my wide receiver, I'm hanging with Mr. Cooper.
Yeah.
Little Mark Curry reference there.
I love that show.
Oh, me too.
Give it up. Give it up.
All right, Amari Cooper's my start of the week. We've talked it all out. He's super high in our rankings. He's facing Chicago. That's all there is to it. Jason.
Moving on.
My wide receiver start of the week is Dante Moncrief. I talked last week about how Jacksonville's defense, their secondary is just destroyed right now, and so I like Dante Moncrief a lot.
I can't get the song out of my head now.
You got to give it up for the brother.
We got to get Mark Curry on the show. What is he doing right now? Is he still trying out for the Warriors?
It was what?
That's what he in the show. He was always trying. He's trying out for the Golden State Warriors.
That's right.
Because he was a basketball coach.
Come on, give me that hanging with Mr. Cooper love on Twitter. There's got to be somebody who.
Mr. Cooper.
All right, Mike, your wide receiver start of the week is one of my favorite picks here.
Okay, check this out. Wide receiver start of the week. Alan Hearns. Who?
When I saw that at first, I was
Wow.
like, what? And then
Are you kidding me?
And then I looked into it, and I think it's a brilliant pick.
Wow.
Alan Hearns of the Jacksonville Jaguars is taking on the Indianapolis Colts. This is what Alan Hearns has done in his first 3 weeks: 60 yards, 68, and 70. He's had fantasy weeks, and the Indianapolis Colts are coming in. We have Vontae Davis, who is one of the best DBs in the league, and who do we think that he will be matched up against?
Allen Robinson.
Allen Robinson, the number 1 target, and that is going to free up the speedster, Alan Hearns. I like him a lot this week.
Their other DBs are
dead. Yeah, that's the other
destroyed.
point.
Yeah,
They're
that's
playing
great.
against practice squad guys.
And we like Bortles a little bit this week too. So tight end, Mike, who are you going with?
I'm going with the Iron Man. Jason Witten went from crutches to playing in a game with his 2 sprained ankles. The guy, you cannot keep him off the field.
He's a monster.
And his targets, 9 targets, 8 targets, 8 targets. Brandon Whedon is averse to throwing the ball to wide receivers, apparently. I don't think that continues, but Jason Witten will still get a healthy dose of targets.
Pretty sure
from
Greg
Brandon.
Olsen with some targets did something decent against New Orleans last
Exactly.
week.
All right, my tight end is Charles Clay.
Ah, you dog. You dog.
I say that only because Jason had his in the doc before I did. But but Charles Clay is my number one on my rankings. I have to mention him.
Yeah.
Who's yours, Jason?
Mine is a mixture between Charles Clay and Jason Witten. We basically got those 2 starts of the week. Love both of those guys. If you need a guy off waivers, Charles Clay. If you have Jason Witten, start him with confidence.
And if you had to make me pick somebody else because you claimed Charles Clay first, I would go with Jordan Reed this week.
There you go.
What is?
Yeah.
There it is.
Oh,
Yeah.
Oh,
I really can't stop watching
We
this.
gotta go play some basketball.
I am 8 years old again. And
Oh.
was TGIF, right?
Yeah, Raven Simone's dancing on my screen right now.
Woohoo!
All right, well, that closes out this extra long edition of the Fantasy Footballers podcast. Be sure to check out our website, thefantasyfootballers.com. If you have a question, an urgent trade question, waivers, start sit, you just need some advice, click the submit a question button. If you have an urgent request, you can let us know on there, and we will answer you.
And go to jointhefoot.com. We have an awesome community building up. It is fantastic, and there's exclusive content from us. There's going to be an extra mailbag show
Today.
And on top of that, we have these awesome goals, and we are very near a goal that is going to force the 3 of us to spend 8 straight hours on Twitter answering questions.
Yeah, anything you want to ask. Anything at all.
Anything goes.
Yeah, sure.
Anything goes.
We picked
Okay.
the questions. to
from your fantasy questions to our social security numbers. I mean,
I'm not
anything
scared.
goes.
I got LifeLock. Good luck.
Dear LifeLock, please call us for a sponsorship opportunity.
So that's the end of the show. Thank you, Foot Clan. Do you guys have anything to say before I say goodbye?
I'm thinking Arby's.
Goodbye.
Thank you for listening to another edition of the Fantasy Footballers Podcast. Don't forget to visit us on the web at www.thefantasyfootballers.com and follow us on Twitter @TheFFBallers.